Hey y'all, it is officially North Carolina primary season, and in celebration of that, I wanted to tell you a little story about two of our candidates that are running on the Republican ballot for the position of county commissioner. So, those of us who had the unfortunate privilege of being on the Facebooks, in the What's Up Washington and Friends of the Downtown Washington pages in the spring of 2023, often saw the selfies that Gear Bear, a local resident at the time, would be taking of himself picking up trash or eating burritos at Mexican restaurants or sitting downtown on the water. He posted those all the time on those pages, and many times he'd be posting that he's picking up trash downtown, and then sometimes he'd be posting about how he's mad at the city hall because they're not open on a Saturday to give him the trash bags that he needs to pick up the trash for those, self-important selfies announcing that he's a good person doing good deeds. And most of us who were like, why is the Gare Bear on these pages, making it like a personal feed on these community pages, bragging on himself, humble brag. So some of us were like, he's probably gonna run for something because that smells like the opportunistic, performative politics that we have come to know and love in this country, right? The bragging on the self, right? And wouldn't you know, Gare Bear makes the proclamation for the people of the What's Up Washington page that he's going to be running for city council. Great. Congratulations. We're happy for you. But it gets a little interesting because come about May, Gear Bear also starts posting on these pages that he's looking for a place to live. Now, the political scientist in me knows that you have to live somewhere for a minimum of 30 days prior to filing for a candidate. And you got to have that address pretty much locked in to do that, or that would be what we would call an election fraud. So, yeah, we start to wonder, well, how is Gear Bear, who's actively fundraising to be at one point the mayor of the city of Washington, which then transitioned actually to a city council member. But how's Gare Bear going to do that if he doesn't have an address in the city limits? But Gare Bear is thick up in the local Republican Party. So bless his heart, Gare Bear's got to find a place to live. And wouldn't you know, the answer to his prayers is a member of the Beaufort County Commissioners. Yes, a true fiscal conservative and apparently a bleeding heart. Because he lives in a single family home. And not only did he let Gare Bear, live on a property that he owned, he let him move into his house. Or at least that's what they'd like us to believe. So there's some grumblings in the community. Because from what I understand, Gear Bear had the wrong address initially. He didn't know where he lived. And so, on his filings, he had to go and, change the number like you do in fourth grade, right? We don't use the whiteout. We've talked about Gear Bear's professionalism. We aren't going to type a form or use whiteout if we make a mistake. No, no, no. We're going to do the fourth grader tactic of just, writing the real number on top just a little bit heavier. Well, yours truly, being the girl that she is, has gone ahead and gotten Gare Bear's voter registration. And he signed that form on the 7th of July, 2023. And wouldn't you know, Gare Bear, because again, he's posting, "What's up, Washington? Hey, I just moved out of my house. I'm able to make your videos and do your post businesses. Let me know free of charge. I'm just Gare Bear doing good things in the community. Have no ulterior motives at all." And he's putting that on the What's Up Washington page at the end of June, that he's almost cleared out of his place and he's moving out. And so, a lot of us that know you have to file usually by the second or the third week in July. Well, how's Gear Bear going to have a residency of more than 30 days so that he can file? Well, wouldn't you know, on the 7th of July, Gear Bear puts on his voter registration that he lives at none other than a county commissioner's house in Maxwoods, here in Washington, in the city limits. He's living in a single family home with a county commissioner and his wife. Now, isn't that wild? So, these streets out here, they start sniffing a lie real quick. And people are like, wait a minute. You're living with a county commissioner? Not that you're renting a property that a county commissioner owns, but you're actually living in his home with him as a roommate? What is this, a weird version of the Golden Girls? Now that's a show I would tune in for sure. Gear Bear and Daddy D right there at the breakfast table, sitting with their slippers, drinking coffee, talking about fiscal conservatism and how they can implement it more in the city government and the county government. Now that is something interesting. That's something I think Netflix could pick up for sure. And it's really kind of sussy because Gear Bear certified that form on the 7th of July that he had lived at that address for more than 30 days, which would have been, he would have had to have lived there June the 7th, 2023. Well, on September the 5th, 2023, at about 10:45 p.m., wouldn't you know, Gear Bear decides he's going to let the streets know the truth. And he posts a lease between him and the county commissioner. And I'm guessing the county commissioner's wife, because she's listed in the lease as, a joint property owner of that property. And that he's going to rent that, a room and a bathroom from them, again, in a single family home. So in the bathroom where the county commissioner lives with his wife. And he's going to rent it to Gare Bear for $400 a month. And that lease was signed on June the 30th, 2023. And this is in the middle of Gare Bear and Meemaw's drama. And I'm pretty sure that's why he put this post up there. And, he's going to set the record straight and let everybody know and all this stuff. Well, honey, that's about 23 days too late. Because Gare Bear, by his own assertion, would have had to have started living there on the 7th of June, 2023. And not even his lease says that he lived there on the 7th of June. It says he had the right to take possession on the 30th of June. Because here are the facts. In the summer of 2023, Gare Bear needed a city address, and he didn't have one. And none other than a Republican Party insider and current county commissioner was willing to pony up an address for him. So we've got both of them, Gear Bear and Daddy D, as I'm going to call him, running now for the 2026 Republican primary county commissioner seats. We have, I think, a list of 5, and 3 will advance on to the regular ballot in November. So my question is, what does it feel like running against your former roommate? I mean, is that awkward? I think more members of the electorate here in Beaufort County need to know this story. And they need to question both Gare Bear and Daddy D about that lease back in 2023. Because to me, there's something a little shady about it. And I think they should answer for that.